Hey, welcome to True Tree Media. I'm glad you're here. I just want to go over a few things with you real quick. Do you know the difference in knowing of someone and actually knowing someone? There's a big difference. Those two things are different. You can know of someone, but not actually know that person. And this channel is to shed light on the lies and the false teachings in the denominational churches and the religious people of the world, because I was once deceived by these things, and it was because the grace of God and His mercy that I was set free from those things. And the way that I was set free from them was I read God's Word for myself, and I found out that I had been lied to and that I didn't have what I thought I had, and that I actually didn't know God, and I was not going to be able to enter into God's kingdom. I was tremendously deceived. And the reason that I was able to be deceived was because I had never read God's Word for myself. And until I did that, I was easily deceived, and I was operating in a form of godliness but denying the power within. And I was continuing pretty much, the only thing that changed in my life was that I called myself a Christian, but I was still fornicating, and I was still smoking, and I was doing all kinds of things that God commands us not to do, and I was enslaved by sin, because realistically, I knew in my heart that those things were wrong, and I hadn't read God's Word yet, so I actually didn't know why I knew that they were wrong, but I just knew inside that they were wrong and that I shouldn't be doing them. But I didn't have the power to stop doing them. And it wasn't until I read God's Word for myself was that I had the ability, and God made me free and gave me the power to be able to come out of my sin and stop doing them. And that's what these videos are for, is in the hopes that if just one person receive this and come out of darkness and come into the light and come to God and be born again and be able to see God's kingdom, and then be born of water and of spirit, and continue in God's Word and do and obey what God says to do, that they will receive the blood and endure to the end and be able to enter into God's kingdom. Because there's a difference in seeing God's kingdom and being able to enter in God's kingdom. Just like there's a difference in knowing of God and actually knowing God for yourself and God knowing you. So, have you ever had someone tell you something about another person, and then later on down the road you met that person and you found out that everything that this other person said about that person was a lie and was completely not true, and come to find out that the person that this person was talking about was actually a good man or a good woman, and that this person that told you these things was the liar and the deceiver and the one that was in the wrong. Have you ever had that happen before? Because I've had that happen many times in my life, and I'm willing to bet that you've also had that happen. And the only way that I was able to see the truth was meeting that person for myself and building and spending time with them and building a relationship with them. And then and only then was I able to see and actually could say that I know that person, and the veil was lifted from my eyes. I could see that this person had lied to me and deceived me about that person. And realistically, the one that told me those things was the bad one. So it's the same way with God and his kingdom. There's a lot of people that say a lot of things and know of God and his kingdom, but there are very few people that actually know God and are able to enter in to his kingdom and are welcome in his house. So those two things are very different. See, just because you believe something and you say something doesn't make that thing true. What makes that thing true is if you actually have put the work in and built the things up that you needed to make that accusation true. And I'll give you an example. I can say that I'm a millionaire, but unless I have millions of dollars in the bank, then that claim, whether I have them or not. So let's say I say I'm a millionaire, but I don't have millions of dollars in the bank. Well, guess what that makes my claim? It makes it false. It makes it a lie. And just like I can believe that I'm a millionaire, but if I don't have millions in the bank, then that just makes me delusional. It doesn't make it true. I'm just delusional because I don't have the millions in the bank. So, like there's an old saying, the proof's in the pudding. And Jesus said, "You shall know them by their fruits." Well, what is fruits? Fruits are someone's actions. Fruits are their works. Fruits are their deeds. And that is how you will know if what they say is true or not. Because someone can say anything they want to say, but if they don't have the things that they say, or they are not the things that they say, then their claim is false and it's not justified because they don't have anything to back it up. So it's the same way with God. If you can't piggyback on another man's knowledge and another man's claim and his claim that he has a relationship, say this man says he knows God and he knows everything about God, and he tells you that he has a personal relationship with God and God knows him and he knows God and that he's welcome into God's house. Well, the only way that you're going to know if that's true or not is if you know God and you have built a relationship with God and you are welcome in God's house. That is the only way that you're going to know if what this man said is true or not. Because you can't get to know someone by someone else. You can't piggyback into God's kingdom. You can't ride on your preacher's knowledge and your preacher's relationship that he claims that he has with God, which may be true or may not be true. You can't know until you actually know God and have a relationship with God, will you know if what this man is saying is true or false, because he very well might have deceived you and you might have believed it. But then, just like meeting the person later on down the road, you found out that that other person was lying. So there's only one way to know God and be able to enter into God's kingdom, and that is to read God's word for yourself, build a relationship with God one-on-one, let God teach you, learn of God, do what God says to do, and then and only then will you be able to enter into God's kingdom, because there's a huge difference in knowing of someone and actually knowing that person. Just like there's a big difference in someone saying they're a millionaire but actually being a millionaire. The only way that someone can be a millionaire is if they gain the knowledge on how to become a millionaire, and then they put the work in. They believe in themselves and they put the work in. They're disciplined and structured, and they do what it takes to become a millionaire. And then and only then will they be a millionaire, become one, and then their claim, when they say, I'm a millionaire, then and only then will that claim be justified, because it'll be backed up. The proof's in the pudding, as they say. So I want to read to you something real quick. This is in Matthew chapter 16, verse 26 and 27. This is Jesus speaking. May God bless the reading of his word. For what is a man profited if he shall gain the whole world and lose his own soul? Or what shall a man give in exchange for his soul? For the Son of Man shall come in the glory of his Father with his angels, and then he shall reward every man according to his works. Did you hear that? According to his works. It doesn't matter what you say. What matters is what you do. That's what matters. That's how someone can tell if you are truthful or if you are a liar. Someone can sit on their porch and they can scream out all day long, every day, I love God so much, I'm one of his children, I'm going to enter into his kingdom. They can scream that all day long. But if their actions and the things they do don't align with what it would take to love someone, so if they're doing everything opposite of what God said to do, but yet they're screaming out that they love God, do they really love God? Or are they lying? They're lying. So, how you build a relationship with God and how you become to know him and him to know you and to know what you need to do for God, to serve him. Because if you truly love God, you'll do what God says to do so that you can enter God's kingdom. And if you do that, then you will absolutely be able to enter into God's kingdom, because it's not God's will that any man should perish, but that all should come to the knowledge of the truth. So I hope this message was helpful. And for all those that love God and fear God and keep his commandments and do what he says, I encourage you to continue, and I love you, and I'll see you on the next one.